Welcome to rSlash Today I F'd Up, where OP nearly kills himself with a chicken wing. Today I F'd up by wearing my late grandfather's shoes to a job interview. This happened January 2018. I was desperate to find a new job and was basically applying for anything that was asking for at least a bachelor's degree. To provide some background, I graduated with a science degree and there was a job posting for a junior risk management position at an accounting firm that allowed folks with a STEM major to apply. And so I did, even though I barely knew anything about the field of accounting or risk management. But hey, might as well. Surprisingly, they invited me to do a 1-on-0 interview where you basically stare at your computer webcam and answer questions that the company has prepared for you ahead of time while recording your answer. It's a pretty awful experience. However, they were all soft skill questions, so I could answer them pretty decently. After that, I surprisingly got an invitation to have an interview in person at their office. I was very excited. Now for the F-up. My family has an assortment of dress shoes that I could wear for the interview, and I ended up grabbing a pair that belonged to my late grandpa. They were looking fresh. I put them on, and my parents dropped me off in the front of the building. I entered the building and entered the conference room where the other 5 candidates were, alongside some company reps. I was cool as a cucumber and just sat in my seat until everyone arrived. Right as everyone got up to enter the group case room, I looked down at my feet and noticed there were these black things scattered all around my shoes. I quickly deducted that they were shoe crumbs. It turns out that the shoes I wore were so old and no one had worn them since a long time ago. They were so old that the polymer in my shoes were extremely brittle, and my shoes were deteriorating in front of my eyes solely due to pressure and friction. At that moment, I was thinking, oh God, oh man, but didn't want to let anyone know about it, so after I got up, I pushed in my chair to hide the shoe crumbs. Unluckily for me, everywhere I walked, more traces of my shoes came off, leaving a trailing of black crumbs behind me. It was a nightmare. Thankfully, the carpet was grayish color, so it wasn't too prominent with my black shoe crumbs, but it was only a matter of time before people were going to notice. We walked to a different conference room nearby where we did a group case. It didn't go too well, and I left another big mess in there, but oh well. Afterwards, we were going to do the in-person interviews with the company directors and partners and divided us into 2 groups where 3 of us would go to the interview first and the other 3 would do it after. I was a part of the latter team, so we had time to kill. One of the company reps wanted to show us around the 2 floors, and in my mind, I was screaming. I wanted to minimize walking to prevent my shoes breaking off even more. I ended up leaving a trail of crumbs all throughout both floors, and then we decided to grab some Starbucks on the main floor. When I went to go grab a straw for my iced coffee, a giant block from my right shoe came off. Oh no. I kicked it into the little condiments corner and hoped no one saw. We sat down at a table until our turn for interview was approaching. On the way back to the office floor, a second massive chunk came off, this time from my left shoe. However, this time I was in the middle of the cafeteria and couldn't go back to grab it or something. So I just continued walking and just left this black shoe turd in the middle of an open space. At this point, so much of my shoes had fallen off that I was starting to walk weirdly, as my shoes had gotten so destroyed at this point. We got back to the conference room, and the moment I entered the room, I noticed 2 other people hovering around where I was sitting originally and said, "What's all this black stuff?" Looking at the debris I left earlier, I pretended to not hear them and sat at a different chair, attempting to engage in conversation with someone else. At this point, I was 99% sure everyone knew it was me. However, I continued to play innocent and not acknowledge the amount of debris I was leaving behind everywhere. Finally, it was my turn to do the interview, and I walked to yet another office to do it. And, of course, that meant leaving more shoe crumbs along the way and in the boss's office. He told me he was going to take a quick bathroom break after we entered, and he'd be right back. I was so glad he did that, as I frantically picked up the crumbs that I'd already laid waste upon his office, and quickly stuffed as much as I could in my pockets while he was gone. As I was doing this, all I could think was, how did it come to this? The interview itself went pretty well though. After everyone was done, the reps ended up buying lunch for us at a nearby restaurant. All I can say is, rip to the cleaning staff over there. By the time I got home, you could almost look through my shoe top down. Needless to say, I didn't get the job. Sorry to hear that, OP. To be honest, I thought you were a shoo-in. Today I effed up being Jesus. This happened on Halloween. I imagine the evening going down more or less like this. 1. Slip into a white robe. 2. Stick on a cactus crown. 3. Moonwalk out of the house as Jesus. 4. Remember never to break character. 5. Hop into an Uber. 6. Show up to celebrate Halloween with friends. 7. Go ham. 8. Go home. 9. Go to sleep. 10. Go for a job interview the next morning. This is what I would have called a good night. However, after number 7, go ham, things didn't quite go as planned. Here's how stuff actually unfolded. 1. Got incredibly drunk. 2. Drunk me turned into drunk Jesus. 3. Fell into my friend's swimming pool and almost drowned after attempting to walk on water. 4. Realized wearing all white plus water equals everyone seeing your shriveled up dong through your tidy whities. 5. Drunk dialed my religious mother in the middle of the night to tell her I'm proof that Jesus is fake and that I'm gay. 6. Unleashed an unholy amount of vomit in the Uber's driver car on the way home. 7. Missed my job interview the following day after waking up laughably late. 8. Realized drunk me set the alarm on my phone 2 years into the freaking future. For the record, I apologize to my mom. We cool now. Ah yes, Reddit 1724. And then Jesus did vomit into the back of the Uber and saw that it was good. Today I effed up by finding my girlfriend's Tumblr. So I've been seeing this girl for almost 6 months now. She's super terrific to me, and I really think things are going better than they've gone in my most recent relationships. We met on Tinder. I personally deleted Tinder 2 weeks after meeting her because I was that into her. She told me she did the same about 2 weeks after that. However, a recent Instagram post notified me that she has a Tumblr account. I figured I'd look at it because we had each other on social media and I was curious. Big mistake. She's got a substantial amount of followers and notes, but I've noticed all she talks about is her ex and how she's in love with him, and other Tinder guys she's gone on dates with. We started playing video games together recently, and I've just found out that her interest in that came from a guy she just spent last weekend with. She has no idea I know any of this information, and I'm too into her to say anything. Please help. What do I do? Bro, seriously, I know this is going to be hard to hear, but your relationship is over. It's going to be tough, but you really need to cut her loose and just move on. Today I effed up by drinking a 35-year-old can of Coke. This story actually took place around this time last year, but because of its embarrassing nature, my coworkers haven't stopped reminding me about it. Our office does a small Secret Santa gift exchange every year that we typically arrange in November and give out gifts in December. You write your name on a slip of paper along with some gift ideas, and whoever gets your name generally gets you some kind of gift, without you knowing who got it for you. The budget for these gifts is $20, so it's not like anyone is getting something super fancy. Now, generally speaking, I'm pretty indecisive. Ask me what I want for Christmas, I'll probably say, I don't know. Ask me what I want within a $20 budget, I definitely have no idea. I remember writing on the slip, IDK, something cool, beneath my name, expecting to maybe get a gift card or something generic. When I get to my desk on the day of the gift exchange, I see a can of Coke with an image of Santa on the can sitting beside a card. I remember thinking to myself, well, this is what I get for not being specific. May as well be appreciative of what I've been given. I open up the card, which contains a cheesy line, fitting of the sense of humor of the people in my office. If you put me in the fridge, I make a cool gift. My eyes scan down the card, and I read the next line. P.S. It's almost twice your age. Now, this should have been my first clue. However, being the youngest person at my office, I'm 20. I took this line to be a clue as to who my Secret Santa was. After all, half the fun was trying to figure out who got you the gift. Never in a million years would I have thought that line was to be taken from the perspective of the can. So I crack open the can. As I go to take a sip, I notice the metal on the outside smells off. I'm not sure how to describe the smell, aside from how one might imagine an old garage would smell. This should have been my second clue, but instead I picture someone keeping their soda in a second fridge in their garage, something I'd known many of my friends' fathers to do. Of course, these were sodas we weren't allowed to drink, so I rationalized to myself that this particular can perhaps sat in a fridge in someone's garage long enough to soak up some of the, garage smell? After a moment of hesitance, I remember once more that I should be appreciative of the gift and take a sip. Now, it feels important to note here that I don't really drink Coke. If anything, I drink Pepsi, but I'm not really the biggest fan of dark sodas. I'm generally a Sprite or even Mountain Dew kind of guy. The first sip, as far as I'm concerned, didn't really set off any alarm bells. Maybe I was just in denial, but it wasn't until a few sips that I truly became aware the soda was off. I think to myself that it's the odd garage smell of the can that's got the soda tasting strange, as smell is a big part of taste, right? So deciding I don't want to offend whoever it was that gave me the gift, I chugged down the rest of the can as quickly as possible. Now, it isn't until about an hour later that one of my supervisors approaches me, presumably for something unrelated, and looks in absolute horror at the can on my desk. I'm confused, of course, until they explain that they collect Coke memorabilia, including some of the older unopened cans with specific designs. They point out the PS on the card that was apparently meant to indicate the age of the can and not the age of the person. I try to laugh it off, but the judgment in the eyes of my supervisor is clear. After Googling around, I managed to find the exact Santa can. If I recall correctly, it'd been about 35 years old, give or take a year. The bright side is, surprisingly, the soda didn't make me sick at all. The downside is, even a year after the fact, I have yet to live this down. Everyone in the office knows I drank this ancient soda, and even our new hires are quickly filled in. I wouldn't say it's what I'm known for at the office, but it's definitely still present in the eyes of my coworkers. OP, at the time of reading this post, it's now November, which means Christmas is about a month away. Please update us with what your coworkers get you in this upcoming Christmas. Today I effed up by dropping a boob carrot in front of my teacher. So this actually happened back in high school. I tried to come up with a better title, but this was the best I could do. So I've always been pretty busty. In high school, I frequently used to wear tank tops to school. Summers were brutal, and during lunch, my friends would make it a game to try and throw food in between my breasts. Disclaimer, this sounds horrible, but it really wasn't. We were all just messing around, and they'd only throw things like grapes, carrots, Cheetos, etc. It was kind of like a competition, and to be honest, pretty entertaining. Anyway, one day, they're trying to throw baby carrots at my boobs, and I guess one throw was particularly well aimed because it went straight down my bra. We all laugh about it, and I spend a minute digging around my bra trying to find it. But I guess I must have missed it, or another carrot was also in my bra or something. After lunch, my friend and I head to our English class. We had this awesome male teacher that everyone loved. During class, I had to ask him a question, so I got up and walked over to him. After I talked with him, I turned around to leave when he said, is that your carrot? I turned back around, and we both just stared at this wilted baby carrot on the ground between us. It's this moment where I know he's wondering how the flip that carrot fell out of my body, and I'm thinking about how I dropped my titty carrot in front of my favorite teacher. I kinda just slowly pick the carrot back up, say, yes, and go back to my seat. My friends still make fun of me for this. Going down to the comments of this thread, apparently this is a very common game among high schoolers called boobsketball or breastsketball. Our next Reddit post is from Alyrix. Today I effed up by eating the ends off a chicken wing. Yesterday, I ate the ends of a chicken wing. Somebody told me the ends were crunchy, like pork crackling, so I tried it out. I never expected this to happen. I must not have chewed one properly. I got something lodged in my throat. To dislodge it, I ate some bread and drank some soft drink. Some pain persisted, but I went to sleep last night hoping it'd be fine in the morning. This morning, I woke with tremendous pain in my throat and chest. I walked to the public hospital down the road because I was starting to worry. The GP noticed I had a crunchy throat when pressing on it. He immediately sent me off to get an x-ray. That showed I have a perforated esophagus. That is, the tube from my mouth to my stomach has been punctured. The crunchy feeling was air that had shifted into parts of my neck it shouldn't be. They consider it a critical medical condition with a 20% chance of mortality. It's so rare that its incident rate is 3.1 out of a million people. A few random doctors even asked if they could feel my neck to experience the crunchy feeling. They said they'd read about it in textbooks, but you never see it. Now, I'm waiting on the results of the CT scan, which will determine whether I get surgery or just have to fast for a few days while my body fixes it. If I had waited over 24 hours, there would be a much higher risk. So then, OP posted a few updates about preparing for surgery and then had this final update. I had a tube pushed into my arm through a vein all the way to the top of my heart. It's called a PICC. It's how I'll be eating and drinking over the next week. That update was 3 days ago, so let's hope that OP pulled through. That was rSlash Today I Effed Up, and unless you hit the like button, then today you effed up.